Okay, greetings, sacred sisters. We have our final interview today of the return of the Priestess Summit 2. And today we're doing a little switch where I am going to interview Dawn. And my name is Marguerite Rigoglioso. I'm the founding director of Seven Sisters Mystery School and the author of the recently published The Mystery Tradition of Miraculous Conception. And I am so honored to be here to interview Dawn because she has been interviewing all of us, and you've been watching her with her incredibly skillful method of drawing out beautiful information from people and really listening deeply. So today we put the spotlight on Dawn, and we want to hear a little bit more from her. But first, we want to, as always, just do some grounding and centering. So let's just close our eyes together and take a deep breath in and exhale. And just become aware of your breath. With your eyes closed, become aware of your feet and your toes and your fingertips. And as you're breathing, just feel that you're magnetic to drawing back any parts of your soul that you might have scattered out today through mental thoughts and emails and electronic communications and travel, any kind of physical journeying you've done, and just see everything as iron filings of your soul, and you're the magnet. You're pulling it all back to your energy field and your physical body. And just feel yourself drop fully inside your skin all the way to where your feet are perhaps touching the floor. You can feel your legs and back on your chair. Have your hands maybe in your lap. And we're just feeling Mother Earth beneath us and around us. And the larger vault of the cosmos above and around, with great Mother Goddess embracing us through that. So just take a couple of more mindful breaths together. And gently open your eyes. So hello again. So yes, Dawn is going to be talking today about the role of the priestess in these times, and just a little bit about her. She is obviously the founder of this Return of the Priestess speaker series, now in its second year. Yay! And congratulations, Dawn, and everyone who has participated. She is the lineage bearer of the Mother Spirit 13 Moon Priestess training. She is also an astrologer, a longtime tarot reader, a professional writer, and a #1 Amazon best-selling author. Impressive. Initiated more than 36 years ago, today Dawn offers workshops, retreats, and mentorship to women around the world. So welcome, Dawn.
Hi, Marguerite. Thank you so much for doing this for me. I really appreciate it.
Wow, I'm totally honored to be doing this today. So we're going to have a little conversation, and then as you've been doing with everyone else, we're going to go through an experience that you're going to share with us. But let's start with you telling us a little bit about your own priestess journey. What brought you to where you are today?
Yeah. Well, my journey began when I was 18 and I had a home birth. I had my one and only child very young. And through my midwives, I got introduced to other women having home births. And some of us, there were 6 of us who started a mother support group. And my slightly exaggerated, but not too exaggerated quip about it is that we began thinking we would talk about diaper rash and, nursing and weaning, and ended up a coven of witches dancing naked under the moon. So that was Mother Spirit. We got introduced to the goddess and the lexicon of the goddess through the Mother Peace tarot deck and the book that goes along with that, which is an incredible herstory of of the divine feminine, and that led to other things and ceremony and all of that. And eventually we initiated ourselves and began sort of downloading, either through book learning or through inner guidance, ceremonies that we would spontaneous do, and then we started delivering them to our community. So that was many years ago. That was in the 80s. And then fast forward, I went through many things. You know, I spent years as a warrior, as you know, as a martial arts teacher, and you know, tarot reader, astrologer, but always the divine feminine was there. And then in 20, you know, it's funny, I was thinking this the other day. I said 2018, it was 2016. I went to Bali to present at a conference called the Awakened Woman Conference, the first one. And there were all these women walking around calling themselves priestesses. And they were. Some of them maybe were just kind of in a lifestyle thing. I don't know. But I really felt like Divine Mother had already been knocking on my door a lot. I was off mission. I was off track. And I needed to come out of the broom closet of hiding my spiritual leadership. I was trying to just be like a business coach and kind of this sort of masculine, energetic. So that was the beginning of turning my ship and really understanding that I could actually lead and offer things like tarot and astrology and intuitive readings and ceremony in a way that like people would actually want it, instead of just a few women where we would whisper back in the day of, are you going to the goddess ritual? You know, that kind of thing. That's how it started in the 80s. So that was my journey kind of back. And then I had a second sort of self-initiation in 2017 where I rededicated myself, where I had been cultivating. I mean, I had been meditating for years and I had been doing yoga for years, but really cultivating like the devotional aspect of calling Divine Mother back into my life and inviting her in to guide me, and beginning to do forgiveness work and inner healing work so that I could open to be a more clear channel vessel. And it accelerated quite fast. And then I started offering ceremonies at my house and eventually doing retreats. And then that eventually led to the guidance that I heard, literally Return of the Priestess. And so because I'd been in internet marketing for years, I bought the URL because that's what you do in that space, right? You're like, oh, I have a great, you know, website name. Let me buy the URL. And then I sat on it for a while. So that's, you know, those are a few of the highlights to share.
Wow. What a rich background you've had. And, you know, it's filled with business experience, spiritual experience, emotional work. Really impressive. So yeah, you heard Return of the Priestess. So last year you had the first one.
Yeah.
What impact did that series have, as far as you can tell?
Yeah, well, it's funny because when I first offered it, you know, we always invite people to buy it if they want. We contribute 50% to a charitable cause. So one of the impacts that happened was we were able to give at the depth of the lockdown of COVID. We were able to give $8,000 to a very small charity that I had vetted, that protected refugee children and women from trafficking at the border of Thailand. And so that in itself was a profound, because when I did it, I was like, oh, I hope I could give them like $1,000, you know? And we sold so many of them. But one of the things that happened was I was offering a third bonus for anyone who purchased to have a one-on-one call with me. Before I knew it, we had sold 150 of them, and we ended up selling a lot more. So we had to cut that bonus out because, like, I literally didn't have bandwidth. I mean, I would have been doing it for a year, free sessions with people, you know? But what that did was it let me speak with many women, probably not a whole 150, but I'll bet close to 100 I spoke with. And so I did get some one-on-one real understanding of the impact that it had. I tell you, Marguerite, there were more than one, more than two, more than three women who would get on the call crying with gratitude. And I don't take, you know, this came through me. It was my job to do. It was my role. It was my soul's agreement somewhere. But we all did it together, right? So women, you know, many of the priestesses got new clients, new people on their list, etc. But these women, they came on crying not because of me, Dawn, but because of what it did for them. It got them on their path. It helped them have hope when all hope seemed lost. It helped them see the things in their life that were frustrating or blocking them. It motivated them to get off of their stagnation and into something. So it really, as I was writing the messaging for that year, I heard global feminine activation and I was like, wow, that's kind of a big statement. But I got it strong, so I put it in. And then afterwards, I got to see that indeed it was, because these hundred or so women I spoke to, they came from all over the world. They weren't just from one country or North America or something like that. They were literally global. So it was a profound impact, truly. And I feel so honored that I'm the vessel through which this comes, even though it's kind of tiring when I'm putting it together.
Yeah, it's such a big enterprise. I really honor you for what you're doing and those who are helping you. It was incredible timing last year, wasn't it? You
Yeah.
know, seriously, the
Yeah.
lockdown, right? It was just kind of right around the lockdown. And as
Yeah.
we were all realizing, wow, okay, mission on.
Yes.
Now is the appointed time. Now we see where this has been headed and what our role is. But let's have you talk a little bit more about this role of the priestess in these
Yeah.
times. What do you see as the
Yeah.
role?
Yeah, and I'm going to segue into that through talking about the timing a little, because this is an interesting thing. I've spoken with many women, mentored some, done astrology readings, tarot readings, etc., or just they're part of my community, where there can sometimes come this feeling of like frustration or low self-esteem, or like, why am I not on my mission yet? Which is why that's part of the theme of this year is, liberating your gifts and activating your mission. But just like my story, like my mission came on. I had been waiting and waiting and waiting most of my life and trying lots of different things. I'm going to be a business coach. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I was a journalist for years. I was a travel journalist. That's a whole nother part. My mission came when the time was right for me. And one of my dear sister elder friends had told me that a number of times. But when you're wallowing in it, it's hard to know. So I just, for those sisters who are still going, like, what is my mission? Well, one of the things we can say for sure is that the role of the priestess in this time, whether you have been actually initiated or you just really identify with this because you've probably been a priestess many times before and long time ago, other incarnations, our role is to hold a frequency. That's the first and foremost. And as far as I can tell, what I can perceive, what I've gleaned from the many wise women I've interviewed and met over through the course of 2 series of Return of the Priestess plus elsewhere in my life, our role is to hold a frequency. It is a frequency that is related to the return of the divine feminine to earth, the sacred feminine, the great mother, divine mother. That is what has been missing. And I know you know that with your work with the womb and Holy Mother Mary. That's what we are bringing back. And each of us has a way in which we do that. And that could come forward that looks like a mission that's visible in the world, like what I do or what you do, Marguerite. And it could be, depending on how you're made up, your astrological makeup, your human design, your soul commitment, all of that could look like raising children. It could look like baking food for your family. It could look like gardening. It could look like being some kind of fierce warrior goddess, speaking truth. It could look like the simplest, humblest thing. It's the frequency. And that frequency comes from doing our inner work. That's why Mother Spirit, a lot of what we do has to do with digging in on these 13 different facets of what it means to be a priestess and looking at where we have obstructions to love's presence, where forgiveness is needed, where skill development needs to be had, where patterning from childhood related to our relationships with ourselves or others. All of that stuff needs to be gently, lovingly excavated and loved up into integration so it is no longer an obstruction. So we can I always see us as chalices, as these vessels. So my arms being like the chalice, where we can receive that frequency and channel it, whether you're channeling it into earth, channeling it out to others, offering it through your art, through your every breath. That is ultimately the role of the priestess in these times. And the wonderful thing is that we literally are all over the world. Well, I haven't met anyone in Antarctica yet, but that doesn't mean they're not there. But we are literally all over the world, as you can see by the women I interview, and they all have communities that they work with. So yeah, so I think I've said enough about that, maybe, but you can ask me more if there's more that you think.
Wow. Well, I love that because, it really shows us a slogan I've been fond of is the personal is spiritual, right?
Ooh,
Back
yeah.
decades
Yes.
ago, the personal is political. And I've always said, well, the personal is political is spiritual. And that's what you're saying. I mean, you don't have to be some grandiose woman wielding wands and things like that,
Right.
or even having a huge public role, right?
Yeah.
It can be done in the simplest way. And that makes it so democratic. And it just opens this up. It's inclusive of everyone and every woman who is conducting spirit in some way or other, right?
Yeah, conducting spirit. And to that point about the whole big platform thing, I mean, this is where we have to do deep discerning inner work. Because the ego is a tricky little thing, and we all have one here in the 3D. And the ego wants the big platform, the ego wants the fame, the ego wants the renown. And I tell you, it is after some very interesting family dynamics that took me to my knees and into my own humble pie eating and my own forgiveness work deeply, that I was actually being prepared to do this role. Because if we go looking for ego gratifying renown in this day and age, it's going to be the cosmic smackdown like nobody wants. We don't want to go there.
I absolutely have found that humility is key. And if you didn't have it originally, you will get humbled. So, like you're saying,
Indeed.
that is definitely part and parcel, I think, of being the priestess in a really serious way. Um, well, let's talk about the themes that you've been weaving through this series. You've more or less been working with 4 of them. So
Yeah.
talk about those a bit.
Yeah, so the first two are kind of the tagline of the series, which is liberating your gifts and activating your mission. And that comes really from working with so many women who want to know what's their gift and what's the mission, right? And that leads into, as I deepened into my meditation of that, so that because I'm a word person and I'm a clairaudient, I often hear it first and then I act on it. So I was like, right, that's the tagline. We put it in. Then Divine Mother will show me what I need to know about it as we move forward. So as I deepened into the connection, what the next thing that came was the restoration of the heart and the reclamation of our true creative potency as creator beings and as feminine beings, as womb holders in the body. In the vessel, the feminine vessel, the female vessel in this incarnation. And, that doesn't mean we're always that way. That's like a whole nother conversation, right? But in this body, in this incarnation. So as that unfolded, I realized that really for us to be able to to liberate our gifts and activate our mission, there's a deep healing that needs to take place. And that healing is we don't have time anymore to process cheese with psychotherapy and loop in old storylines that is just the ego keeping itself alive. We literally have to restore our creative potency and restore our hearts. So that leads to the 3 live ceremonies for this event. This is why these live ceremonies came about. The first one, blessing our wombs, which is why I asked you to come to bring Mother Mary to bless our wombs. Yes, we all have lineage baggage of the wounded mother, the wounded grandmother, the traumatized wombs, all of that. we have to drop it. We have to let it go, not in ignoring it, but because the mission is now imminent. We have to hold the higher frequency. Can't do that if we're holding all of that trauma. This is why why the personalist political doesn't work anymore, and why creating division and hate over ancient wounds does nothing but keep us looping in 3D. We have to let it go with love and appreciation and respect and honor, and let it go. So then we come into the second ceremony, which was raising up the energy to the heart. Because until we bless that potent creative womb space, that sacral chakra, that second center of creativity, with the compassionate heart, the forgiving heart, the open, accepting heart, we can't fully create, because true creation comes from love. And that's when we then rise it up to the third eye, which is tomorrow's ceremony, if you're watching this live, which is the Isis activation, which is fully rebalancing, bringing into balance the masculine and feminine, so that we don't just be in the receptive feminine aspect, but then we act on that creativity and bring it to life, which is the masculine frequency that we all carry both within us. So that's, I mean, it's, it's like, I wish I could say it in like a soundbite, but that's really what these themes how they all weave together in the tapestry of this year's series.
It's so redolent with your own wisdom. And you really are the person to have woven all this and brought it all together. I truly honor you. And I know that I join with all of the women who have seen this series and last year's as well in just thanking you profoundly for the inner work that you've done, the outer work that you've done, and all of the logistics that you've done to bring this together, bring women together so that we can, multiply our abundance, as you were kind of alluding to earlier, and be fortified in doing this inner work. So just thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to receive that from you and to be witnessed and to be seen. And I know, knowing my human design, knowing my astrology, I know I'm designed to do this. And I think that's a message for us all to take as well, is that we can't compare ourselves to other people anymore. We each have a role to play, and honor that. And as we honor that, it unfolds more and more, like the ever unfolding lotus flower of the crown chakra. It unfolds more and more over time. It's not just like you get locked in. That's that old 3D of like, right, I'm going to be a doctor, a lawyer, Indian chief, and you're going to get locked into this little cubby hole of identity for your life. No, it keeps flourishing when we allow it, when we love it up, when we embody it, even if it seems humble at first.
That's right. Yeah. Blessed be. Blessed be. Well, I know you have an experience for us, so let's move into that and see what you got.
Yeah. So the next real piece, I would say another thread that's woven into everything that I do, the fabric of my teaching and my work, is this idea of lift as we rise. Oh, I've got so many tingles now. The idea of lift as we rise. And I'll just tell you quickly the backstory. Some of you have heard this, so please forgive me if you've heard the story before. But when I was a young woman and in university, I was studying women's studies, and I got to go to a feminist conference in my sophomore year, I think it was. And I went to Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia, and I got to hear the great Angela Davis speak. And she was a Black Panther in the 60s and early 70s, and she became a feminist scholar. And I was sitting like kind of front row center with my girlfriends, and there was this incredibly statuesque woman with these long golden dreadlocks and this jumpsuit she was just stunning, and she had this deep resonant voice. And her whole talk was about the way women in academia, in order to get tenure, would stab each other in the back and climb over each other. And that had to stop. And that we had to, and this is how she said it, we must lift as we rise. Or she said lift as we climb, because they were climbing the ladder of academia. So it was so strong because it was through her whole talk that it stayed with me all these years, all these years, all these years. But now I feel like it's not about climbing anymore, it's about rising. We are rising and we must lift together. And so reweaving the sisterhood after, we don't have time to talk about the witch burnings and the betrayal and the sisterhood betrayal, but we know in all different cultures that that's happened. We have to lift as we rise. And so, what I want to do now is guide us through a short meditation of what I call the golden web of sisterhood. And this spontaneously emerged at some point in my years of doing this. And it's a way to imagine and really feel our interconnectedness all around the earth. And many of you through this series, you've heard me guide us with a couple of breaths through this at the beginning of our grounding and centering. Now we're going to go deeper. And so I'm going to invite us now to close our eyes. Close your eyes if it's safe to do so. And now let's just take a few breaths, and I'm going to take a few breaths after all that talking to drop in myself. And let's just drop down into the belly. And at the pace that works for you, stay with the breath in and out, feeling the belly expand and contract, feeling your sits bones, letting your shoulders drop, letting your chin drop, just ever so slightly, keeping the spine up, straight. Now bringing that breath up to the heart space so that when you breathe in, expand into the belly and into the chest, opening, receiving, allowing. And as you breathe at your own pace, in your mind's eye and perhaps sensing with your body, become aware of the invisible golden web of connection that stretches out from the core of your being in the energy realms to reach and connect and touch every sister and indeed all the brothers who join us in this gathering as well. And trust what you see and sense and know as this web reveals itself to you across the distances of time and space that are all really right now and right here. And you may notice a glistening on the threads of this web, or perhaps droplets. Just allow it to be as it is and feel, just as the spider's web is so delicate and yet so strong, so too is our connection. For ultimately, we are all one. We are all the children of one great, divine Mother, Father, God. And in this earth walk, as we heal and awaken that remembrance within, so do we reweave the web of our beloved human family. And now as you breathe, you may notice a gentle pulsing in the web. As we breathe together, letting those pulsations feed ourselves and one another with the love light of the one flowing through us and to us from each other. And as you allow each breath to strengthen that connection and strengthen the nourishment you feel from all the others who feed and nourish this web. You may notice a message, a goddess, an insight, a vision, a sense, an awareness of something that invites your attention. Perhaps there's someone that you wish to bless or forgive or ask forgiveness of. Perhaps there's a project that you are ready to take on or something you're ready to let go of. Trust what comes and allow the breath and this web of one family, one love, to nourish and support your strength, your fortitude, to attend to this in the hours and days and weeks to come. Feel the way it's possible for us to all have each other's back, to all remember and restore our hearts, remember our connection, reclaim our creative potency, and be the love we came here to see in this world. This is the golden web of connection. It connects in with the new earth grid that supports a higher frequency for Mother Gaia and for all of her children. And when we connect in with our loving hearts, we can lift as we rise, supporting our sisters and brothers all across this earth, supporting the return of the priestesses who hold the frequency, the container, the vessel within which we awaken as a one. And taking a moment now to breathe and to feel and receive the nourishment that you need, knowing that all that you take in is for your highest good. All else can be dissipated in the ethers of light. Breathing in that which you most wish to receive, and exhaling into the web the blessings offered to your sisters and brothers of earth. Knowing we came for these times and we are prepared to bring in the blessed new earth for all life. And when you're ready, you can take one more breath in, knowing that you can reconnect to this web whenever you wish. And for now, drawing your attention back into the center of yourself. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you.
Well, that was certainly an oasis for me, and I'm sure many people experiencing it. Thank you for that. I felt profoundly from the beginning of it, the connection through the heart
Mm,
to
yeah.
those in this web. It really felt like a love heart connection. And so when you said that later, it was very validating of that. So I know
Mm,
everybody's had their own experience with that, but thank you, Dawn, for that blessing of
yeah.
us, really sending us forward with that blessing. And why don't you just share whatever concluding thoughts you have?
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So, as we come to the end of our time together for this year's Return of the Priestess, right now I'm being guided to do it again next year, so we shall return. But in the meantime, we do have our last ceremony tomorrow. If you're watching this live through the series, of course, if you've purchased it and you're watching the recordings, you might be watching this in alphabetical order or something, but just know that that's still coming for you. Please do share your reflections on this in the Facebook group on the posts that Jennifer has set up for me. And remember, there's still time to purchase the series, and 50% still goes to Horses Helping Humans. So if you feel aligned with this and you want to contribute, there's still time to do that. And either way, I want to thank you all for being with us throughout this series, and I do hope to see you on the live tomorrow when I'll be bringing through the ISIS activation, which was a transmission brought through to me. I'll tell more about that story then. So, but it is, it's a wonderful way to have a send off and go into your own journey. So may we stay connected always in this web, keep the hope alive, because though we are in challenging times right now, the light is coming, and that is where we're headed, and I am certain of that. So thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. It's been an honor, truly, and a blessing, and I do hope to connect with each of you in time. Thank you. Bye for
Thank
now.
you, Dawn, and thank you for your beautiful leadership. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Marguerite. Many blessings, everyone, and bye for now.